Hello everyone, and welcome to our TLC presentation, Teaching Students of All Backgrounds. Yes, experiential learning is possible, fun, and effective online. My name is Dr. Christine McMahon, and I am the Health and Wellness Program Chair at Ashford University.
Hi everyone, and my name is Sandra Rebeor. I will be co-presenting with Christy, and I'm an assistant professor in the College of Health, Human Services, and Science. So let's get started with our presentation. Okay, today's objectives are to analyze experiential learning research on learning outcome effectiveness among students. We will assess some examples of experiential learning in the online modality and also apply experiential learning knowledge and ideas when designing or instructing online classes for enhanced engagement and student success. Here's what we'll cover. We will introduce you to the topic of experiential learning, or for short, EL. So we will define what that means, then the history, and we will also look at what experiential learning might look like in the online classroom. We'll provide you with some general examples and also some research from scholarly literature regarding EL. Lastly, we're going to demonstrate a few examples from our program that you may find interesting and use some of these ideas for your own courses. And very importantly, EL can be applied to specific backgrounds, cultures, religion, experiences. To all students, regardless of their specific background, culture, religion, and experiences. Okay, so what is EL? EL is considered a transformative way of teaching across many disciplines and settings. So educators from all backgrounds can apply EL in their online classroom to increase engagement, awareness, reflection, and knowledge. Really, the key to EL is to personalize learning for greater success in the classroom and aspects beyond the classroom environment, so for the student's life in general. Let's look at why EL is so critical. So there's a common myth. EL is difficult or impossible to integrate in the online classroom. Many individuals think that EL is only possible face-to-face, but that is not true, and we're here to show you why it isn't true. Okay, so I hope you're listening now. There are many reasons why EL integration is really crucial in the online classroom. Recent research highlights two key reasons. One, all educational settings should utilize EL to effectively teach students real-world challenges and practices. This first reason really nicely transitions us to our second rationale, in that we must adequately prepare our students for success after graduation. Over the last few years, Ashford has placed a really strong focus on that, and so EL fits right into that initiative. Since students have different backgrounds and interests, our learning approach must accommodate such differences and be effective for all students. Okay, before we really dive into some more examples, let's look at the history. Confucius, China's most famous teacher, philosopher, and political theorist, said in 551 to 479 BC, I hear, I know, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. And that really provides a good foundation for EL. Here's some more history. So Aristotle believed that there is a person really needs to understand a theory and then also apply it. And that a theory is not really understood until it is applied. And then Pestalozzi went on, and he believed that children should learn through hands-on activities. be able to follow their interests and draw conclusions from their work. And when we observe children and how they learn best, a lot of them really do learn best from the hands-on experiences and by applying their knowledge. John Dewey, he was also a key player in the early 1900s, and he truly believed in learning through experiences as well. So as you can see, all of these really believe in learning through experiencing. In the 1970s, experiential education emerged as a recognized field of education, and then the Association for Experiential Education, or AEE, was established in 1977. So this form of learning is still very new when recognized in the field of education, but as you could see, it has a long history or strong foundations for a very long time now. There are other really great players in the 19th century that are very important to mention, and some of these are Carl Rogers, Maria Montessori, Kurt Hahn, Miles Horton, and Paulo Freire. So what does experiential learning look like? Let's look at a few general examples before we dive into specific examples. So we really want to reinforce learning and topics by reflecting on them, by analyzing them, and by synthesizing them. We can initiate, make decisions, take responsibility for certain actions and decisions through EL assignments. And also we really can promote active engagement by asking questions, prompting further investigation, problem solving, fostering creativity, and we can spark curiosity among our students. We can engage students on multiple levels. We can engage them intellectually, emotionally, socially, and also physically. And you might wonder how some of these are possible, but we will show you in just a few minutes. We can also stimulate learning that is personalized to form a basis for experiences in the future. So students can use some assignments and some of that personalized learning and apply it to their future, whether it's in their career or in their personal life. We can also promote and develop relationships, and those can be between students, within the students, and then student to student and student to the world, to the outside world. So they, again, on various levels, students can be impacted, but also the world around them can be impacted. We can allow for various experiences, and we must consider that such experiences can be derived from success, failure, and even uncertainty. So some things may become more clear, and as all of you probably know, we can not only learn from successes, but also our failures. And it is important that EL focuses on open outcomes, so outcomes are uncertain, and those may vary from student to student. So a student might have success with a certain assignment or feel success, and another student might feel that there are a lot of opportunities for improvement, and that is okay. Also, we can promote that students explore their own values. So again, these are just some general examples of what EL is. Here are a few things to remember. We need to offer students a learning process that is allowing them, again, to experience consequences, mistakes, and successes. So, and we need to offer support to students throughout their learning process, no matter what that may look like for a particular student, because not all students experience the same process. They're not all starting at a certain level. They have different levels where they started, and we should embrace where they are and help them meet the goals and their end destination, so to speak. So from start to finish, we should support them. We should not allow our own bias, judgments, and preconceptions to affect our teaching. So just because I had a certain experience and because I feel that this should be the outcome does not mean that my students will have the same outcome. Okay, let's look at a few research examples from literature, and these are all very recent. So our first example is from a student from a class of fourth graders who were asked to focus on specific topics within their school, and they wanted to improve a project called We Help, We Care, a We Care project within their school. And the school was filled with debris from recent construction, and the school year project was founded, which is the project of this study. Students, as part of the project, worked with agencies, businesses, and high school students, and they entered their progress on what they experienced into journals on a regular basis. I wanted to highlight a few, two quotes that were brought up in the article. And one was from a student who said, "You get to express yourself and you get to hear about other stories that make you feel sometimes sad, mad, happy, and angry." Again, keep in mind this is from a fourth grader. And another one that I really liked was, "I liked it when we had to write about the family story. I put a lot of thought into it because I love my family. It was fun when we interviewed our parents. When I shared my interview with my class and my parents, I got braver. Nobody laughed." So the students not only accomplished writing assignments, and that was a great outcome of what they had to accomplish. So they not only improved their writing, but they also enjoyed it more. And this came about through this really personalized example via this project. And as you can imagine, it also built other skills that students will need to be successful in life, such as collaborating with others, thinking beyond their own lives, and thinking about the community and how they could impact that. Very nice example. Okay, another one is from an accountancy student who were able to play a board game focusing on cost management. So this was obviously a very difficult concept to teach, so they ended up playing this board game to really learn more about cost management. And the outcome was that there were higher grades. So the students who played this board game had higher grades than non-participants, and also a better understanding of material relating to the main strategies and concepts. So not only were better grades noted, but also longer-term outcomes of really understanding the groundwork of cost management. And I assume, that also served them well for their life in accounting or for their career. Okay, another example I wanted to highlight is relating to the healthcare area. Excuse me. Medical students entered primary healthcare experiences, observations, and reflections again into logs. And they were volunteering in low-resource rural areas. And they really interacted with natives in that area. And the outcome was that they were able to better apply the knowledge that they learned in the classroom to realize hands-on experiences with the community. They enhanced a greater self-development, greater passion and compassion for the natives, and also a greater understanding of reality, what their work looks like, feels like. They got to reflect on changes that were needed in their field. So they got to discover gaps and even explore how they could even fill them, or what actions they could do in the future in order to fill those gaps. And lastly, they also were able to reflect on their plans after graduating, such as, do I want to work in this area? Do I want to work with individuals in low-resource communities, or maybe another population group? So it really was a great reflection on their experiences, translating their experiences from the classroom into the real world, but also looking into the future. Okay, and before I turn it over to Christy, I really wanted to underscore how, based on these examples that we've seen, there were numerous populations that were highlighted, but also numerous settings. We had the classroom environment for younger students. We had the classroom environment for college students. In numerous sectors, we had education, we had healthcare, and we had business. And as you can see, EL is really applicable to all these settings or numerous settings and numerous backgrounds. So very, very flexible, so to speak. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christy.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you for providing a background on experiential learning. And so I want to talk about more of the personal engagement of the student. So one of the primary goals of experiential learning is to actively engage the student into the assignment. So many times we have classroom lectures that only focus on the cognitive aspect of learning. And so that's why experiential learning is so important. It provides a change of pace from the traditional lecture format, and it allows students to make connections with the course material in a personal way that can really make it more meaningful to them. And so I'm going to provide some examples of how we actually use experiential learning assignments within our online learning platform. So for this first example, I am focusing on reinforcing by reflection, critical analysis, and synthesis. So within several of our courses, we have our students complete an activity, reflect on that activity by completing an assignment or a discussion prompt, and then posting it into the classroom. So these assignments really aid students in thinking about what they're currently doing in their life, how this can relate to the course material, and how they might improve in their own lives. In HCS 334, Personal Fitness and Wellness for Optimal Living, in this course, we ask students to choose 3 exercises. They choose one from the upper body, the lower body, and the core. And then they actually demonstrate these exercises in front of a camera, some sort of screencast. And so they're actually recording themselves. They explain how to do each of the activities. They explain the primary muscles involved, and they provide some expert tips. Then they go back into the classroom, and they share that discussion prompt with other students. And so it allows them to interact with their other students and provide an activity and then reflect upon it. This here is an actual student sample. This particular student chose to discuss the plank. Now, these pictures didn't come from the student's post. The student actually posted a link to where others could go and actually watch the video recording of that. But again, this does provide the actual verbiage from the student, providing the different muscles that were worked for the exercise and some expert tips as well. So for our second example, this is focusing on to promote and develop relationships, student-instructor, student-to-student, and student in real world. And for this one, it actually does address each of these elements. In this course, individuals are asked to interview a health and wellness professional. So this is the actual discussion prompt that's within the classroom. So they are asked to find a health and wellness professional, whether that's at a doctor's office, health department, or university. They have to make contact with the individual and then set up a time to interview them. And so this does allow for student-to-world experience. And here is an example of all the different questions that they can ask for that discussion prompt. And then they are also asked to come up with 2 of their own questions to ask the professional. After they have completed the interview, they write it up in a journal prompt and post that as a discussion within the classroom. So then at that time, they also have interaction with the instructor as well as other students. So they get to perform the activity and then reflect on it and then learn from others. So this is a great example of experiential learning with the real world environment as well as student to student and student to instructor. And this is the actual student sample from one of the courses. It explains who the student decided to interview, the certifications that that individual have, and kind of what a typical day is like. And what's really nice about this exercise is students get to learn about a variety of career paths within the health and wellness field, and they can learn more about the job and whether or not that might be something they may be interested in working in. For our next example here, I want to talk more about journaling, because journaling is an excellent way to allow students to complete an activity and then reflect on what they did, and then they can also think about ways to improve. Journals allow students to express their emotions, and it also allows the instructor to get to know their students a lot better. So journals are a great way to really include that personal element into the assignment, which is definitely a goal of experiential learning. So for our first journaling example, this is within an Introduction to Health and Wellness class. Students are asked to complete a Rockport fitness walking test. They do have to complete a questionnaire just to make sure that they are healthy enough to do that before they actually take the test. So then they actually go outside into the real world and complete this walking test. They check their heart rate, they time themselves, how long it takes to do a mile, and then check their heart rate again. And then they come back into the online classroom and they write up a journal prompt discussing how they did, what their results were, how did they compare to other individuals, and then they get to really reflect on those results and determine, do they need to improve their physical fitness, are they at the age and the range where they should be. So again, it's a great way for them to perform an activity and then reflect on it within the classroom. Our next journaling example is on dietary intake, and this is also in our Introductory to Health and Wellness class. Students are asked to document their dietary intake for one day, and then they go and put all of their information into a tool, such as MyPlate, and then it actually provides a dietary analysis for the student. It will tell them their fat and caloric intake, the vitamins and minerals that they had, total amount of protein, and then so students need to analyze the report that they received and answer specific questions. And here are a few examples of those questions listed on the screen. And again, it allows them to analyze their own personal intake and determine, whether they need to improve in certain areas of their diet, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. So again, this is a great way for them to complete an activity and then reflect on the activity and determine if they need to improve or not. And this final example, this is a stress assessment and management class. It's our HWE 415 stress management, and we actually use journaling throughout the entire class. So assignments can build off of one another. And so in week 1, students just assess their personal stress level and they determine their reactions to stress. So they actually take an assessment in the textbook and then write up a journal about it and then submit it to the instructor. In week 2, the student can choose any stress assessment within the textbook. And again, they score their results and then put it into a report and submit the assignment to the instructor. In the 3rd week, they actually get to practice stress management techniques. And again, they practice the technique. Then they write a journal prompt about how they felt that technique went, if they had any challenges. And then they share that information through the journal assignment with the instructor. And then for week 4, they get to evaluate their personal health behaviors and select a behavior change and discuss 5 ways that they can help themselves make a positive behavior change. In week 5, they complete their last journal assignment by evaluating their occupational stress and then determine what techniques they could use to help lower their stress level. So what I would really like to point out is the personal impact of experiential learning. Journaling assignments, they do have a lasting impact on their students. So in one study I looked at, 81% of students who completed the journaling assignments about a personal behavior change had made permanent changes that were maintained for more than 1 year. So involving those personal assignments and allowing them the opportunity to reflect on those really do have a lasting impact on the student. So now I'd like to turn it back over to Sandra.
Thank you, Christy. Those are great examples. As we have seen by these examples that Christy presented, is that they really can apply to all students. So if it's a student if there are students from different backgrounds, different ages, I mean, if somebody is in their 20s or in their 60s or 70s, they can still do those reflective assignments. They can still go out and interview somebody and experience certain stress management techniques or whatever your assignment may be. Again, EL is very flexible. It's possible and effective in the online environment. Students really enjoy it. I mean, the feedback that Christy and I are getting on these assignments is really wonderful. I honestly have not had a complaint regarding the assignment because even if students cannot perform an exercise, there are workarounds. So they can choose a son or daughter who's 18 and healthy. They can choose a neighbor and demonstrate it there. So there are many workarounds, and as long as the assignment is flexible, and students really get that benefit from these assignments because the course content becomes so much more relevant as compared to just writing about it, as compared to just writing about a stress management technique. To actually get to experience it. And as we said, it's applicable to numerous fields of studies. So it can not only be applied in health and wellness, but in all of the other programs that you're working in as well. And only the sky's the limit. So your creativity that is applied to these assignments can really move mountains, I want to call it. So students really, I'm sure, will really enjoy it. So we want to hear your takeaways. What will you do in your classroom, and how will you apply EL in your classes? Please let us know your thoughts on this, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. The email addresses are christine.mcmahon@ashford.edu, and my email is sandra.rebeor@ashford.edu. Thank you so much for joining us today in this EL presentation. We hope you enjoyed the content, and again, please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or comments. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.